Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to All Beer Inside. Today we are in the Knowlton region with Nick from Knowlton Brewing Company. Thank you for having us today. Appreciate
it. Thank you very much. Just to clarify that, we're Knowlton Co. We didn't. We don't name it after a brewery just because of the translation in French and stuff like that. We didn't necessarily see the perfect translation because brasserie can mean multiple things, and we're in Quebec, so we have to be language positive with French, which I fully agree with. Anyways.
Okay, perfect. So what's the beer story? Why Knowlton Co?
So where do we start? Well, I'm a pretty big beer advocate and beer fan. So I've after a few years of really diving into different microbreweries, I decided I would start working at a couple. So I started at Dunham, Brasserie Dunham, in Dunham, in the same region here in the Eastern Townships. I was there for about 3-4 months. And I was helping with brewing assistants, and I was having a lot of fun. And then when I went back to university, my last year, 4th year, me and my father started chatting. Oh, maybe it'd be interesting to start something together. And it wasn't necessarily in the brewery world; it was just something. And then we started looking at potentially partnering up with someone, an existing brewery, and we couldn't find anything we really wanted, so we put it on the back table and we decided, okay, let's drive across Canada. He came to BC and Squamish, and drove with me back towards Montreal. And our goal was just to stop off as many breweries possible and just see what Canada kind of had to offer as fast as we can, but see a bunch of beers. We did do like 15 breweries in like 5 days of driving or whatever. It was pretty successful. We started off our brewing adventure with Backcountry Brewing, which is in Squamish, BC. It's one of my favorite breweries. Love their beer, love their vibe of place, and I love their social media stuff. So I was showing that to my dad, and then we went and we saw all these younger breweries. And then when we got back to Montreal, we decided we're starting a brewery. And then there was up to debate Montreal or where I wanted to live, which is Knowlton. And we decided Knowlton could really benefit from a microbrewery, and that's where it started. We then started looking at different plans, what buildings to buy, what land to buy, what place to start our brewery, and then we ended up with this location, which is actually we built it brand new because we had there was a plumbing showroom here, which was called the Réel des Sept. And we bought it, and the building was placed on the center of the property. And it was good for one expansion, our first growth. But after that, it would become a mix and match of buildings, and it would just be a little weird. So we decided to start from scratch and go from there.
Awesome. So you brought us some of your flagship beers out.
Yeah.
Let's start with the first one. What'd you bring us?
Yeah, so the first one right here is the traditional cream ale. We wanted a beer that would be for that common beer drinker, so the Bud drinker, the Bud Light drinker, the Coors Light drinker. We wanted something that could bring them into microbreweries, but still have a little bit of elevated taste, a little bit more hoppy. It's not super hoppy. We lagerize it, so we actually cold ferment it. We still do use a ale yeast, but we do a slow fermentation. This one takes about 3 weeks in process, 3 to 4 weeks in process. So it's a little bit longer than our regular beers. However, we wanted something clean, crisp, and easy to drink. And I think this is what we got with this. So
excellent.
Cheers.
So on the show we go like toast, but it's so
toast.
Nice clean smell.
Yeah, it's got a little tang to it, nothing too much. And the point of this beer is we've seen it quite a few times where we have that Bud drinker that comes in and he's like, I don't like micro beers. I said, no, start on this. He drinks this for a week, 2 weeks. He buys it in a can, brings it home, and then he comes here and I'm like, "Oh, you ready for an IPA?" He goes, "Oh, I'm not sure." Well, then I get him on the wheat ale, and he goes, "Wait, this is great. It's not bitter. It's fruity." And then I get him on the wheat ale, and then I move him to the IPA, and then we get into the darks. So.
Yeah, most of my college years for me was drinking 40s with my friends, and then I started working downtown, and I went to the Mondial. I'm like, whoa, beer has flavor. Where did this come from? I don't just have to drink like this rice lager or this. So,
And I'm still I still drink my Canadian and I still get around there. But I'm so into these flavorful beers and slowly bringing up the palate for my customers here. And we've seen a lot of changeover already. It's only been 8 weeks that we've been open, a little bit more. And we've seen clients who come in here that hated microbreweries, and now they're microbrewery drinkers. They come in, their first beer they order is our double IPA. It's like okay, fantastic, you're really into it now. So
yeah, that's I love hearing that when you could convert the masses to better taste. What were some of the roadblocks and difficulties you came into when you started creating La Knowlton?
Working with the town has been both positive and has had our struggles, but everyone in town who's been in electoral positions have been extremely positive about this project for the town. And then we've just had a little bit of back and forth with the non-elected positions. In Knowlton, there's a couple places, a couple groups that hold power, and those were meetings. They wanted the restaurant on the roadside. They don't want it facing the trees because they said no one knows if your restaurant's full or not. And I said, well, I don't worry about that. I'm really designing an experience. When you walk in here, when you first come to the building, you're like, oh, it's a warehouse. Then you open up and you realize we've done all this woodwork and have a huge, nice view on the trees. So it's very positive. But the roadblocks were having a few problems with some design stuff, but it's been fantastic. And then we decided to do a lot more building of our own instead of go with manufacturers for like our bar. We decided we'd build it ourselves. All the wood that we decided we build it ourselves. Just because of when it gets expensive, and you got to break it down and do it yourself. So. Those are my main roadblocks. Everyone else, banks and everything, have been extremely supportive of this project, which has been fantastic. We're working with BDC and Investissement Quebec as our main banks, and they've been so supportive. And I think there's something to do with young entrepreneurs and having a good vibe with the people we have there. So it's been positive. So.
Awesome. That's really good to hear that. Yeah. I mean, out of a couple of shortcomings from some people, like your view is fantastic from what I'm seeing. So. I'm looking forward to coming back during the fall when that fire pit is up and nice little terrace area.
This summer here, it's going to be crazy. We're putting, 75-person terrace. Wow. Only beer garden tables outside, so tables of 12 people. We're going to put a bunch of tables of 12 people. We're going to maybe put like a rain cover just in case. But it's going to be really a fun family style outside, and it's supposed to be like mix and match and just don't be a snob or whatever.
Yeah. So. Now you're in the ski region. Have you?
Yeah.
I mean, you've only been open 8 weeks. Have you gotten any kind of shift over of the skiers?
So we're working on getting the après ski market here. But we're not the closest bar to any of the mountains. But we're also not the farthest bar from all the mountains, and we're centralized between Bromont, Owl's Head, a bunch of Sutton. So there we do get our après ski vibe, but we're working on to really promote that aspect because I think it could be a really fun place for that.
La Knowlton Company, why would you stick with that? Why not come up with something like, it's Nick's Bar?
Oh, like a different name? Yeah. So we played with a bunch of different names. My dad is his name's James, and everyone calls him Jim. And we have a bar in our basement called Jimbo's, and we've always thought maybe making a bar in Jimbo's name or whatever, but I don't find it the right locale for something like that. I think maybe downtown Montreal, small bar, more of a fun thing, could be easily called Jimbo's. But here, when we looked at naming conventions, we looked at the region. What is the dominant name convention of the region? If you look, Quadacook is named after their town. Dunham's named after their town. Sutton has two breweries. One's named La Brewery Sutton, and one's named La Bordage. So you get this common naming of this region with the towns. I also find it powerful. Knowlton is a relatively well-known community in the English community especially, but it's something that's kind of died down in my generation. Not many people my age would know what Knowlton is, just because it's more of an old place and doesn't have a strong history, but it's not necessarily carried over. So we're trying to tap into the well-known name of Knowlton and also bring our own style. And we didn't want to restrict ourselves by putting brewery or brasserie in it, because La Knowlton Co. in the future might be many more things than just a brewery. And I just didn't want to necessarily restrict myself right off with branding.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the second beer you brought?
So right here is an American wheat ale.
Okay.
This beer is so my master brewer is a little bit weird when it comes to certain things. I'm not the master brewer. I have a master brewer named Toby Bouchard. We found him in Montreal. He was delivering mail. He was a mailman for Plus Canada, and he had been doing that for 2 years. And we met through a beer contact. He had been brewing many years at a different brewery, and then decided to go to get a little bit more of a stable job, I think. And he's super happy to be with us now, and I'm happy to have him because we went through 15 different brewers before finding him.
Okay.
And we really wanted profiles that were the same. Anyways, he's very specific on what he likes to brew, and he doesn't want to brew a pale ale. He would do an IPA, but not a pale ale.
Okay.
But he wants a beer that brings the same level of a hoppiness, and this is where we get our wheat ale. It's got a nice little hoppy flavor to it, a good fruit.
Excellent.
Toast.
Oh yeah.
And you can see it's got all those fruity aspects. Got the bitterness a bit.
You smell it.
Yeah,
right
you
away.
smell it, and you get that kind of pale ale vibe from it, but it's a nice little wheat ale. Not
almost on the level of New England.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing, right? We didn't want to make a New England, but we knew that we would cross over with it with our pale, lighter beers, our wheat ale. We knew we'd get into that region, and then we want to get out of that region real quick when it comes to our IPA. We actually do all our beers between 4 and 6.5, but sometimes we have some beers that we decide to do a little bit drier or less. Like we have a couple of saisons on tap right now, and they're around 3%, and then we have our double IPA that's up to 7.5%. So you got to have those regions, but this is where we like to operate is between 4.5 to 5.5 for our staples. So you can see that this has got a nice fruity taste. It doesn't linger too much, not too much bitterness.
I'm crushing this.
Right? Yeah. And that's the other thing. We really designed our beers to be crushable.
Yeah.
We really want drinkability. I know a lot of people say that, but when I started with Toby, our main goal was to make beer that's just easy to put down the trap, but tasty at the same time. And I'm hoping is exactly where we're at.
That's fantastic beer. That is something I could be with the guys playing softball and just putting them back.
Yeah, like that cream ale too. Like the combination of these two beers, man. On a hot day, oh god, they go down. And I personally think they're better in can than they're on tap. It's rare to say that, but our canning process has been really nice. We got a cask canner, so they do a really good system, and they properly set it up, and we've really had not any problems with dissolved oxygen and stuff like that.
Awesome.
And so it's been a fantastic canning experience, and I find it just has a little bit more time to settle in the can, and not change as much. So
the names and I didn't catch the names when I came in. They're pretty much like Stout IPA.
Yeah, so we don't name our beers. We wanted to have a naming convention, but us as partners, me, Toby's one of our partners, and then my father's the other partner. We negotiated for a very long time between each other for a naming convention that we could be standardized and use, and we just couldn't find one that we all liked. So we decided that we'd just go with no naming convention. Okay. And we kind of like making our beers right on style, like trying to make them fairly based on the definition of that beer. So we decided not to take anything away from that and just really crisply say, this is what you're getting. This is a porter. It's not some Blackwater porter, or smudge or whatever, So we really want to be crisp, clean, like our beer tastes with the naming of conventions.
And the labeling they're pretty wild. They're all very cartoony.
So that's it.
Came up with that.
So that's it, right? That's the other reason why we didn't necessarily want to put names on the cans is because we wanted a little bit of funky art, but fun. One thing that me and Toby have in common is we both really like traditional, classic art styles, especially when it comes to comic strips. And so there's this comic strip art that's like monochrome style. It came around the 50s, and I really, really liked it. Obviously, this is not monochrome. It's a version of what we was working with. But we worked with a company. It's a big branding agency out of Montreal. It's called Ogilvy's.
Okay.
They're really big, and we were scared it was going to cost us an arm to work with them because we had been trying to work with different artists, but we just couldn't get exactly where we wanted. So when we went to a bigger agency, and it was the first time when we met with them, oh God, we were scared it was going to cost us. And then we realized after nice negotiations, they were pretty much willing to do it for beer. So now we have a beer deal with them. And we bring them beer once a week, and they pump out our cans for us.
Fantastic.
Because they're so big, right? So that they're allowed, when we give them a small project like this, they're allowed to be creative. They're not stuck just doing huge contracts, which is mostly translations and stuff like that from other companies. So they were very happy to be passionate about this. And when we first started working with them, they gave us like 5 different types of comic strip art, and we picked something else, and then when we got the final copies, they're like, this is better, and we 100% agree. The other ones had more color to them, and these ones are one chrome, and I really, really like them. I like how detailed they are. I like how lively they are. However, there's motion, but they're not moving. Yeah. And that's the other thing. Like, I'm working on animating these. I'm working on making them real-life animation and stuff like that. The other thing we started was a digital can printing company.
Okay.
We started this year as well. It's called Heart Printing. And it's
Okay.
it's a printing company that prints on cans.
I think our friends at Luke's use you guys.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah. So we've gotten a lot of the can industry already in Quebec because it's coming around the corner that it's becoming illegal for plastic wrap and labeling. And so we're really sinking our teeth into the micro industry because I can order 2,000 cans of one printed type, and I don't need to order 300,000. You know, if I wanted 4 cans and I wanted to go with Ball Corp for printing or a printing company, a standard printing company, I would be looking at about $1 million of empty inventory of just cans.
Wow!
Because of the volumes you have to buy. So we saw a niche, we saw a hole in the market. We went to go fill it ourselves, and then we found 3 individuals that were graduating from Concordia with an MBA, and this was their project. So we decided that we'd jump into the project with them, and now we've been super happy. Like these are all printed by them. I think they have 50-odd clients now. We should be picking up more and more as we go. So
yeah, I mean, especially with the plastic wrap, because I mean, cans naturally they're more environmentally friendly. Yeah. They're easy to take to the beach. To me, there's a lot more advantages to cans. Now, if I'm getting something barrel aged, I want it in a bottle. That's a personal choice. But,
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because I find if you're aging something, it's better in a bottle. Like I can't see aging capability in cans personally. But the whole printing on the label, it's a lot more.
In about 4 months, you're gonna get our double IPA aged in oak barrels, and it'll be canned. You'll see, it'll be fucking delicious.
And if you change my mind, that'd be great. But yeah, the printing on cans and the whole environmentally friendly thing is a lot nicer to hear about a company.
So that's a very interesting part of the industry. That's the shift towards cans, and we're there to fulfill it. So.
Yeah. It's just so much easier at cans, I find. It's just like even the company that does the plastic rings, it's like, oh, just snap. There, I got my 4 tall ones.
Well, did you see we're not using plastic rings here?
Okay.
We use the product's called fish food. It's
a compostable.
Yeah, so it's a biodegradable cap. So we use those fish food. They're called fish food. They're from Mexico. Yeah. Most plastics are anyways pressed in Mexico, so the transportation is pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
But it's fully biodegradable. It's you throw it outside and it's biodegradable, non-industrial, so you don't need a metabolism stage like those sugar plastics that everyone's using that say biodegradable, but they have to go in an industrial biodegradable facility. Like if you can't just throw it in your backyard garden and it's not going to dissolve. Ours will completely dissolve, and it's known as fish food because it's a combination of algae, paper, compression thing. So it's been really, really cool, and it really locks the cans in. We've had complaints that it locks the cans in a little bit too much, but we rather that than them exploding everywhere.
Yeah, obviously.
So here's the material I'm talking about. You can see that it's like very.
It's almost like a cardboard.
Yeah, it's almost a cardboard.
Yeah. And they just pop right in.
Yeah, they pop right in and.
Finger hole.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. We've been loving the product.
Yeah.
And we're the only ones using it in Quebec, and I definitely suggest everyone to shift towards this, just because the easiness of the biodegradable for this. Like you just toss in your garden and it disappears.
Okay.
You don't need to go through any processes. You don't need to cut anything, and. Unfortunately, they're not reusable. Obviously, we're looking into making leather reusable ones.
Okay.
For people that come in all the time, and we'll give a special price because you bring it in, then we'll reuse it. But it'll probably take a very different shape. So it's been a lot of fun finding these little niche products to really use. So
for sure. Have you brewed yourself ever?
Yeah, so I brewed a bit. I helped Mathieu at Untappd Brewery for 3 months. He let me brew a couple times there for myself for the brewery. Didn't really mess up any batches, so that did well. And then we got a 200-liter system for home brewing, just to test our recipes over the last 2 years or 3 years that we've been trying to build this brewery. And so when we started there, I said, okay, let me practice my skills. I can very much brew. I know the process and everything, but no, I don't have any time to be doing at-home brewing anymore. Here I do jump in on the canning line, and if they need me, I'll jump in on other things. But I'm really talking futures, and I'm talking making sure the full financing, making sure the whole business is operating properly. So
what was the first beer you ever brewed? Do you remember like the style it was, or
for this brewery, or for my personal adventures?
For personal and
so
brewery.
My first personal adventures, I jumped in right into an IPA, which was a terrible decision with the whole dry hopping and everything. It was my first. I was like, I'm going to make a beautiful New England. It turned out not even drinkable. And then I was like, oh, may as well jump into a stout here. It's more flavor, maybe less place to fuck up. No, that's, oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, language or not.
We try and keep it PG.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Sorry. Anyways, I jumped into a stout and obviously didn't turn out well. And then so I said, okay, maybe I'll jump into something a little bit lighter. So I didn't get into cream ale, but I did a wheat ale, more of a traditional Belgian wheat ale, which turned out pretty nice. And then we started going through brewmasters because I realized that maybe I'm not the brewmaster, or maybe I'm more the connoisseur in the direction of creativity. And so we looked at brewmasters and we tried a bunch of different variations. We saw brewmasters that focused in sours. We saw brewmasters that focused on European traditional beers, on Belgian beers, on English beers. And we saw it all. And then we found Toby, who really did a combination of the English styles we like and some American styles that we like. And just the profile and the professionalism in his capabilities, we just were completely sold on. And I think the first beer that he made for us was the American Wheat Ale.
Okay.
But he did it a lot more citrusy and a lot less hoppy, which was fun and all. It was definitely a little bit more traditional wheat ale, I guess, with a bunch of orange peel in it and a bunch of coriander and to get this little funk in it. But then we decided maybe bring the hoppiness, try to bring that pale ale vibe to it.
Okay. Third beer you brought us.
Yes. So this is the West Coast IPA. As I said, we didn't want to make another New England style because it's dominating the region. It's very common. And I don't find East Coast styles necessarily the easiest to drink.
Yeah.
So I wanted something crisp and why not? Toast.
Yeah, that's a West Coast.
Yeah.
It's very clean.
Yeah.
A little bit of bitterness on the back end.
Yeah, right on the back end, but it doesn't linger. It's not a harsh bitterness. It's got a good fruitiness to it still, but you could see the color's clean, crisp.
Yeah.
It's really meant to be, again, a thirst quencher and really be right on style of that West Coast IPA and not necessarily blow it out of the water on bitterness and stuff.
Yeah, you're not looking at like 1,000 IBUs.
No. We're looking at 75.
Yeah.
I think actually 80 IBU, 5%, 5.5, I believe. And it's just, just crisp, clean, right on style, not trying to overhop it. That's when we get into those doubles IPA or double hopped IPAs, but we're not trying to do any of that right now. We're just trying to really be on style and be that niche, like delicious, juicy beer.
Yeah, this is something also like very drinkable with that extra flavor that I like with. My flavor profile changes from week to week. It's like, I feel like sours this week. I want double milkshake IPAs all of a sudden.
My friends always ask me, what's my beer of choice when I'm here? I'm like, it depends on the week. Like this week, I'm drinking the black IPA. That's my to-go-to right now. I'm just drinking it like it's juice. But like last week, I was, for some reason, cream ale. I was like, couldn't drink anything else. I just was downing cream ales. Yeah. And every week, it almost changes here. We almost get a new beer every week. So maybe that's the reason why I'm varying that much. But yeah, so that's that.
Okay.
So it's been great.
You mentioned you come from Dunham, and the brewery's only 8 weeks old.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you haven't quite done a collab yet, or are you setting one up? Or?
Well, not with Dunham.
Okay.
So me and my brewmaster, we have a very similar idea of collabs. We don't really see necessarily the big value of collabing with another brewery, except for just collabing on the marketing side. It's a very promotional game when you're collabing with a brewery. We're happy to do it eventually with other breweries. We're going to have a name. We're going to be able to do it. But we're really interested in collabs with local farms and local producers instead of doing big collabs internationally. We think bringing our community up with us and promoting each other is very important versus necessarily reaching out to go get those followers and go get those things. Because first of all, I don't know if you've ever been to a collab with another brewery, but it's a lot of standing around and a lot of just the brewery that you're at brewing, and it's not. It can be very collaborative, but it's a lot more of a drinking thing and whatnot. It's fun and all. Nothing against it. Yeah. But I do really love the idea of us working with local producers. Yes. We just made a beer that's called the Saison Rose, which we do with the Surovilalité. Sorry, I can't even say it.
It's okay.
And it's elderberries, an elderberry concentrate farm. They make elderberry products, but we use their concentrate in our Saison. And it's been fantastic. It brings a nice sourness and it brings just slightly a rosy hue, rose hue to the beer. and it's nice and sour. It's really good. So
when you did the BC to Quebec trip, if you could go back to one of those provinces and brew with that, like you mentioned, Squamish.
Yeah.
If you could do a collab with them, bring them in, would you?
I'm gonna get them into it at some point.
Okay.
I actually have a buddy that's still that's working there right now. And I'm slowly trying to get him to
take a little trip here.
Take a little trip here and whatnot. It is one of my favorite breweries, and I really like the guys there.
Mm-hmm.
I think they don't know who I am though. I just drank a lot of beer there, and then decided to start my own brewery. And so I think they'll be a little bit surprised when they realize I was probably their biggest drinker last year or 2 years ago. But yeah, I'm hoping to get those guys out here. I really like what they're doing. They really have a cool scenario. But yeah, so there's some breweries I'm definitely going to do some work with. I'm not trying to hate on breweries here, but I really see the artisanal value of working with individuals from the area and promoting each other in that way.
Okay. Yeah, you're like a hop, skip, and a jump from Vermont too. Anybody out of there that you'd like, hey,
well,
we go down or
yeah,
back and forth like BBCO.
Well, you have the classic with the Alchemist. I would love to get into Alchemist, but they don't necessarily do the most collabs either. I love their beer. I love their Eddie Topper and their what's their other one? Their
Fogelbanger.
Fogelbanger. Yeah, I drank one yesterday. Fogelbanger, fantastic.
Yes.
Great beer coming out of there, but strictly on the New England style, which would be kind of cool to see if we could do some sort of collab between like a dry IPA, West Coast style, and their bitterness and their fruitiness. So maybe like use their hops, but in our style of brewing, get that type of style. There's a lot of ideas, definitely. But I'm open to a lot of things.
I mean, you're super new, like 2 months. So
we're 2 months,
very fresh.
Almost 3 months in. We're 67 days in, so we're very fresh. We haven't really done too many collabs per se right now. We have like one with the Edelberry Farm. We have a local coffee producer, Julius Coffee, we're working with to do a breakfast stout with. We're doing actually 2 coffee beers. I'm not sure if my brewmaster is going to kill me when I say this, but we're doing a breakfast stout that we're doing a big waffle breakfast stout. So we're putting 500 waffles in it. We're going to do a bunch of stuff. My chef is about to start cooking them today, actually. And then we're also doing a cream ale, but we're doing a cold brew cream ale. So we've done 4,000 liters of cream ale. We're going to grab 1,000 liters of it, and we're just going to mix coffee into it. And we're going to let it cold brew for 48 hours. And so we're not trying to do anything else except for doing a cold brew coffee, and then we're going to pump it into cans and see how it is.
Speaking of breakfast stouts, I have a friend, he's adamant about blueberry maple stout.
Oh, yeah.
So if your brewmaster is watching, give it a shot.
The maple stouts and the maple beers will definitely follow because we have good connections to sugar farms out here. And it's something that me and Simon, my chef, we've discussed about potentially doing a sugar shack and doing a bunch of stuff like that.
Yeah, even maybe just like a collab with the sugar shack, and it's like do an event.
Yeah.
So that.
But the problem with maple, right? It's 100% fermentable, so you don't get that carryover taste unless you kind of try to cheat. So there's a way of getting that flavor, but we got to work on it. I think it's maple barrels, and I think it's working with the wood instead of necessarily just with the maple syrup. But these are all projects down the line. We're just trying to function right now, and we're selling way more beer than we ever anticipated.
That's awesome.
We're like pretty much year 2.5, 3 volume of production. We were supposed to only make 500 hectoliters this year, but when we started, it took off, and we were doing 1,000-liter batches. And we were like, oh shit, we have to. Oh, sorry, we have to jump into we have to jump into full batches. So we're doing 2,000 to 4,000 liter batches, and we can't. We have 25 stores that we sell to, and we just can't make enough beer to get to them. We have a list of 50 that want to join us and whatnot. So it's definitely demand for our beer. It's just the whole production side. We need more equipment. We need all these things. It's coming, but taking our time to get there.
Yeah. Awesome. So it sounds like you're super busy, but when things finally kind of settle down for a bit, any future beer vacations you'd like to go on?
Yeah, there's a couple good beer vacations. I've seen a couple. I'm a big skier, so I like to try to double down on those adventures. Japan, there's a couple of beer conferences that I saw in Japan that they go over the classic clean, crisp Japanese lager, Japanese style rice beers and stuff like that, which I love. So I might jump into a couple of those and then go up north to do some powder skiing and whatnot. And then we do the beer conference every year. So this year it's San Antonio, the International Beer Conference. It's in San Antonio, and it's fantastic. We did it last year in Denver. It was a lot of fun. So we do that. We usually go down 1 or 2 of us. This year we're actually going 4 of us. We're going down. We're bringing in our administrative director. So she does all the paperwork for us, and it's fantastic on the restaurant and on the brewery side, really organizes everything. And now she's taking on responsibilities in sales. Genevieve, she's fantastic. She's coming down with us to take a couple of conferences on the business side and the operations side. Our brewmaster's coming down definitely just to do some connection stuff and do some courses in. We want him to get really focused on the aging and the whatnot. But he's fantastic, so I'm not trying to push him in any direction because he's great. And then my chef wants to come down and try to get the vibe of more what is a restaurant to do with a microbrewery, what do we really specialize in?
So more like food pairings in the future?
Food pairing, more like me and so I'm a pretty big at-home cook. I love to cook at home, and I do a bunch of crazy things. My chef, same thing. We like to come up with really creative menus. And right now we did our first menu. It's our most dialed down menu that we could have come up with, and it's still pretty funky. We got nice kimchi in there. We got a nice funk on the menu. But we're talking about now changing the whole menu. Maybe just doing a taco menu and a pizza menu for now, and then like 3 months from now we'll just drop the tacos and make an Italian menu.
Okay.
Really just do whatever the hell we want because we're able to make really good food, and we don't necessarily want to make the restaurant like that's a steak place.
Yeah.
We just want to have fun with it, just like a bunch of fun on the menu. And I think we just need a little bit more direction on that, and we're working on that. So it's
awesome.
really, really fun. So.
We're
getting to the porter.
Yeah, we'll get to the porter.
So the porter here was my favorite beer for a very, very long time.
Okay.
We're both rugby players, me and Toby. So we based it on an English workers porter.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, so you get that maltiness, you get that hoppiness a bit, and then you get also that nice coffee taste in the background.
Yeah, I immediately got coffee on the nose.
And that's the other thing, right? We're not trying to, again, when you read about porters, they're like after work beers, especially in English history, it was like the after work beer. So we really want something, what do we want after a rugby game or after a work day? Something refreshing, wake you up a bit with that coffee taste. But we also want something easy to drink, and that's what it is, right? It's not a thick porter. It's not too liquidy. Also, it's definitely porter, brown ale variation, but
it's very well balanced too.
Yeah.
I mean, right now because we're doing the interview super early in the morning, so coffee beer is awesome.
Yeah. We're about to pump out a couple more coffee beers too, so it should really well balance out on the menu. So.
Awesome. So what's next for Knowlton?
Oh, God. There's a lot of directions for Knowlton Co.
Okay.
There's a few things that we have to get done here. We have to increase our production size. And then the restaurant side, we're slowly stabilizing in on how we're actually operating and what our sales look like. So that will allow us to do a lot of stuff. But we have a lot of projects. We want to get into some music festivals. We want to do music festivals. We want to do some beer festivals here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of projects that Knowlton are open to partner up in with us to promote Knowlton in certain ways. And so we're looking at operating in that way. It's really trying to figure out the best way to sell our beer versus what we need to do in the restaurant. And then it's, okay, if the government allows us to, we would love to do a Knowlton grocery store that represents because we work with local farms in our restaurant. We work with Terroir Solidaire, which is a co-op in the area that represents, I think, about 20 different farms or a little bit more. And the ladies who are in charge of that program are fantastic. We went to go visit, I think, 6 farms of the 20, and not one of them, they were all managed by ladies, all female dominated, and it was fantastic to see. We were like, all right, we kept going, and it was just crazy experience, just seeing all these farms. And that's one thing we really want to try to work with them, either to do some transformation for them into our brand. So we take their pork belly, we make bacon, and we resell it, or we work with them to do a transformation somewhere else. They're actually working on building a building right now for transformation, and I think it's a fantastic project. And so I think there's a way of encompassing Knowlton Co and bringing in those brands and really representing local agriculture. But with Quebec laws, I'm not allowed owning a grocery store or a dépanneur.
Okay.
Because I'm a brewery owner, and so there's these things that we're going to need to try to figure out to really grow the business properly. And then there's we're trying to get a wine permit here. We're not allowed getting a wine permit because we have a can store in the restaurant, and our fridge is not attached to the brewery wall. So if that fridge was just on the brewery wall, we'd be good to go. It's silly rules.
I know.
Yeah, so Knowlton market space, and where we could either do one just for local people here, but also maybe one downtown Montreal, really showing the agricultural and the artisanal scene from here. Because I wouldn't necessarily just do food; I would also represent the artists of this area, which is something that we're trying to work with. There's a art studio here that's called the Art Lab.
Okay.
Art Lab 431 or something. I don't know the name specifically, but it's a fantastic project. The artists come here all the time, and the variety of artists, painters, ceramics, sculptors. It's fantastic, and I've been working with them. I've been basically told them to take this whole wall that's blank and do whatever the hell they want with it, as long as it's kind of in our flavor. So the greens, the grays, the things that we like in our brand, and have fun with it, and we'll put it for sale. And so I'm not only trying to promote the agriculture side, but I think the artisanal side, the artistic side of Knowlton is really present. And I think it's someone for us that our beers are being sold everywhere. It's something we can really push and promote. So I think it's very important, and they've been super supportive. So we've just been trying to figure out how to collab on certain projects. So that's one of the things we're trying to.
That's amazing to hear. So I've got nothing else for you at this time. Let the people know how they can find you.
Yeah, so to find us, it's pretty simple. It's you just go onto Instagram or Facebook, and it's Knowlton Co. We have at Knowlton Co. Or just write Knowlton Co. and it should show up as well. I've tried to do some search engine optimization, but sometimes you can't control what Google says, and so that's the best way to find us. We're working on our website, but we don't have the website yet, but we're definitely working on it. I'm a coder, so I have some time to try to get that website done. Just haven't really punched it out yet.
It seems you're very busy.
Yeah. We got a lot of things on our plate. I'm doing both daily management and think of future, making sure it's all operating as a business. But the best way to find us is social media, Instagram, Facebook. We're going to be on YouTube at some point, and I want to start Twitter. I'm trying to convince my partners to do the Twitter narrative that I want. I kind of want to be funny, aggressive, kind of an asshole in Twitter.
So you mean Twitter?
I want to surf that line of acceptable of not acceptable. But I haven't convinced my partners that I'm allowed to do it yet. But they're gonna get to it at some point. When someone asks us if we have a child's menu while we're a brewery, there's definitely some good stuff for you guys, but not necessarily the little slim things you want.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to post everything you said in the show notes. As for us, you can find us allbeerinside.com, at allbeerinside everywhere else. And as I always say, drink craft, not crap.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Very much appreciate it.